Before I get into today's video, remember to follow me on Twitter. So my Twitter, the link is in the description below. You can also find me. My handle is @JacksonKruger. Come over, say hi, and anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. So can Sam Darnold still be successful? Well, let's talk about what we saw from Sam Darnold last year, because there was some good. Remember, the first few weeks he was looking good. So maybe let's start off with those games. To be honest, I felt this way at the time, and I certainly feel this way now, is I never took too much into account here. I actually got a lot of criticism from Panthers fans, interestingly enough, for not giving Darnold enough credit for those first few games. But here's why I didn't, was because of stuff like this, where it's a cover 2 zone, and this is the concept that's designed to be cover 2 zone. Essentially, the way that it works is you have two receivers who are lined up to Darnold's right, who are going to kind of get into the same Houston Texans zone. So either that Texans player has to move in and cover the shallower route, meaning you can throw over the top, or he stays deep, meaning you can throw shallow. It's a good concept, and it's going to work. Watch, as you see, Darnold takes the snap, and you're going to see right here that the player is moving in to cover the shallower route. So this now means that Darnold knows, okay, throw it to the deeper route. That's how this works. Sam Darnold does make the correct read, and listen, you got to give him some credit for doing that. Running an offense is never easy in the NFL, no matter how good of a situation you were in, and he was in a good situation those first 3 weeks. It fell off the rails quickly, especially after the Christian McCaffrey injury, but and I think that the scheme got a little stale as well. But still, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve credit for this stuff. I'm really not. We also have something like this, where what's going to happen here is it's going to be zone coverage. It's a cover 3 zone. And again, you see how this concept can work. You have a play action, and then you have a receiver who's going to basically just get past the linebackers, but underneath the safety. And the hope is that, with the linebackers moving into play action, this could get open. Again, as you see, Darnold runs the play action, and right here, this is just as open as it gets in the NFL. Yes, you have to get it over the linebacker, but the linebacker's also moving in to take away the check down route, so this is very open. Darnold makes this throw, and again, give credit for Sam Darnold. He made the correct read, but these are easy reads that are getting very open, so I'm not going to give him too much credit for that. So that's, I think, why he was, able to be so successful early on and then dropped off. And I think the hardest of diehard Sam Darnold fans would even acknowledge, situation was definitely in his favor in those early games. Let's talk about what went wrong sort of as the season progressed with Darnold. For one thing, there's stuff like this, which this is a real thing that you see on tape with Sam Darnold. He's never been the most accurate. He is someone who will miss a throw, and this is going to be an example of that, where it's going to be just a quick wide receiver screen pass, one you should make 100 out of 100 times realistically. However, as you see, Darnold takes the snap, and he is just gonna miss this throw a little bit. Maybe it was a communication thing, you never know, but we have seen him miss throws. That's something that is on tape. He's not the least accurate quarterback in the NFL or anything like that, but he will miss some throws, and I think that can create some issues. Also on stuff like this, which this might not necessarily be as bad, so I'm gonna pause it right here because it's gonna be kind of more of a play breakdown. So we've established that Darnold can do a solid job at running an offense if he's in a good situation, but what do you do when things go wrong? And this might be Darnold's biggest issue. Right when this play begins, you see how Darnold notices his first read is not open, and he is able to get outside the pocket. So he looks over, realizes he has a player he can throw to here. This stuff was all really good from Darnold, and sometimes he will hit these throws, and it looks really impressive. But I would say he's actually subpar at making something happen after the play breaks down, largely, at least in part, due to stuff like this. Watch, that's just a missed throw right there. It's a tough throw. He's running across his body. It's one you'd like to see him make, but if your selling point for Sam Darnold is he's someone who just runs an offense, I don't know if he does that well enough to keep him on the roster. He probably has to be able to, elevate the team a little bit if he's going to, I think be a starter, and I don't really think he does a great job at that. So look, another play is something like this, where what's going to happen here is it's zone coverage, and you see how this concept can work. Again, both of these two routes kind of trying to get into gaps in coverage, especially the tight end route, kind of people could forget about with it being so shallow. And look, as you see, that's going to essentially be what happens. The tight end starts off blocking, but then when he disengages, he is open. So again, tough throw for Darnold to make. He has to throw across his body. This is not easy. However, Darnold is going to overthrow it, and this results in an interception that's going to end up getting returned a very long way. So that's kind of the issue that, I think it's fair to say with Sam Darnold is there are these mistakes on tape. He will make mental mistakes on top of it. So when things go wrong, he's not really great. But I also don't know if I think he's fine at sort of running an offense. I don't think he's bad at that. I think that's probably his best attribute and why he still belongs in the NFL. But I would probably put him closer to a high-tier backup at this point. Again, unless there's, someone who's a mechanics guru who can find ways to fix him or stuff like that. I think that, I still feel pretty strongly that Sam Darnold, not someone who I'm going to completely buy in on being a starting quarterback anytime soon. But again, anything can happen. I think, but that's what I see from tape. So yeah, I get it's not necessarily the hottest of takes to say I am low on Sam Darnold, but I do sometimes think that, I think there are still some people that are kind of feel like, okay, but what happened those first few weeks? And is it possible you put him in the perfect situation and things can be successful? I saw a tweet going around today that talked about what Terry Bradshaw, after 3 weeks of Sam Darnold, said he was the best quarterback the Panthers have ever had, which felt like a bit of an exaggeration, a bit of a jumping to conclusions at the time. Certainly feels that way now. But I still think there's some people that say, okay, you put him in a good situation, what can happen? Because he has been in horrible situations for the first 4 years of his career. I think that, again, anybody could be successful, right? But the Ryan Tannehill comparisons that kept getting made with Sam Darnold last offseason, I always felt like were flawed because Tannehill, while he wasn't great with Miami, Tannehill still had some good years of Miami and had some good moments with Miami. Tannehill was just, he was inconsistent and injury riddled. Darnold has also been inconsistent, but his highs were nowhere near as high as Tannehill. And I think that's the real concern, is that his highs tend to be being able to run an offense effectively in a good situation, which, if that's what you're looking for, Jimmy Garoppolo can do that, who might be available for free with not having to give up any assets potentially. The Niners, I thought they should have just cut Garoppolo, just given the contract he's at. That's the situation that you kind of are in right now. So if Darnold is at his best, on his best day, is a Jimmy Garoppolo type, and that's his best day, and he's inconsistent, this is where it's just get a Teddy Bridgewater then, which is ironically who they had before they decided to get rid of Teddy Bridgewater to go with Sam Darnold. So, he's on the roster, and he might as well be, because you have Mayfield and Corral, both of which have promise, neither of which have a ton of promise. So, although I like Corral a lot. I thought Corral was an interesting pick. I hope we get to see some of him. But, Darnold is just another guy who it's maybe there's a 0.1% chance it works out, better than having, a backup that we know won't work out. So I guess that's where I would view him as. But yeah, probably view him as a backup, which, listen, there's worse things to be in the world than an NFL backup, right? So that's not necessarily an insult. There's still value there. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.